Once upon a time, a girl named Felicity and a boy named Peter bought an abandoned 1830s farmhouse in New York. And what we have been doing for the last couple weeks is playing chicken with the weather. We have been very, very lucky so far. Today, for example, it's 70 degrees out here. It is the 6th of November. 3 days ago, it was 30 degrees on the thermometer when I got up in the morning. So it's definitely a day-by-day process. But what we've been doing over the, Peter and I have just been coming to observe. What the contractor crew has been doing over the last couple weeks is the siding, and I'm happy to say that the siding is all done. If you watched the last video, this is not going to look terribly different than what you saw last time, but they have finished a couple of the last pieces, and then also they have started taking out the appliances from the kitchen. So this is going to be a fairly short update. Most of what they've been doing is working on the electrical inside, which I can't show you because it's simply putting wires in walls. But as you can see here, the fridge is gone. Ba, 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 ba. I know you guys were really excited about seeing the fridge gone. Several of you said get rid of it. I know my mother will be pretty happy to see it gone. So these are the doors on the old fridge. This is the stove that had mice in the insulation. And then that big the big fridge is totally out, totally gone. One of the last pieces of siding that's been done is right here on the extension. This was not done the last time we were here. And so there's no more daylight coming into the root cellar, which is what's back down in the basement behind that wall. They've done some caulking here on some of the joints. This was under construction last week. This is the north side of the house. This is the extension. They've put up some new framing here along the edges, and they finished that wall. That wall desperately needed some help, if you guys remember, but the baseboard of that wall was pretty much rotted out, and so they've put in a new baseboard on this side and new paneling up as well. So that is pretty dang good. That is the other piece of siding they were working on a week ago. That is the other side of the kitchen extension. So as far as we understand, I think there's a couple of small details left to do with the siding. There's a little bit more caulking. I don't know if you can see, but there's a little piece of something right there on the siding that needs to come off, and there's one hole in the siding that needs to be plugged right above it. But generally speaking, I think the siding project is finished. We did have an inspector come out on Friday from the bank, and they okayed the barn cleanup and the gutters and the stove pad install. So that project is fully off the to-do list, done, dusted, completed, paid for. So that feels really good. If you will remember, it's not great lighting in here today, and that board is somewhere in the way. But back here, you can see a corner of the foundation was missing. And what you might notice right there is that that's a stump. Now, we thought the stump had been put in there to hold up the foundations, but apparently once James actually got down in there, he said that is in fact an old tree stump that was there, and he thinks they just built the foundation around the tree stump. So it wasn't actually holding anything up, they were just too lazy to get rid of it. So you can see there's fresh stone in there, there's fresh mortar down there. Like I said, it's 70 degrees today, so it should be a good time to set and dry. It has been raining off and on today, but at least it's warmish. So that is one piece that's been done. We are racing the weather to get a few things done before it is consistently below about 45 degrees, actually. One of the big things will be, of course, painting the house. I know several of you have been asking about when that might begin. We actually have a lot of preparatory work yet to do before that happens. All of the paint that is on the porch, it's basically the porch. The rest of the house, when the siding is done, is ready to paint. But this porch, which is, goes around half the house, the ceiling needs to be scraped yet, and before it can be repainted. Some of the decking needs to be scraped before it can be repainted. All the new railings need a wood sealant put on before they can be painted. And then, I don't know if you can see, let me zoom in here. Most of the pillars are not in good shape around the bottom. So like what they did here is they cut out the bottom of the existing pillar and put new wood in there before painting. And that actually needs to be done pretty much on all of the pillars. Like this one here, you can see that it's got some gaps in the bottom. So there's still quite a lot of preparatory work to do before the porch itself can be painted. And then the other thing that we need to do is get the mini splits installed so that there's heat reliably in the house, because we don't want things to be freezing overnight. While the crew is here during the day, they're running a propane heater in the sitting room where the wood stove is installed, which is great. But unfortunately, they can't run it while they're not here, right? That's a safety hazard. And overnight is when it's going to get the coldest. So we definitely need to get the mini split systems installed before we consistently hit freezing temperatures to keep the house a modicum of warm at night. And then the last thing that we need to do that is temperature sensitive on the outside are the doors and windows. Now, I know some of you have said that there are ways to do that in the winter with a professional crew, but we would prefer to just do it while we don't have to make any extra modifications. We want to put those in after everything has been painted, so that if something happens to a door or window, an existing door or window, during painting, there's no problem, because these are all being replaced. So the doors and windows will probably be one of the last things that will go in. So alongside finishing the siding and prepping for painting, we have been doing some non-house things as well, and I wanted to share these with you. It is fall now here in New York, and the clocks have fallen back. We've had a couple of absolutely beautiful mornings, and I wanted to share with you some footage of both of those. The first one was the first morning that I woke up and it was under freezing on the thermometer. We've had a couple of nights that were close, but this is the first night that was under freezing on the thermometer, and I could not believe how beautiful the countryside looked frosted as I was out for my morning walk. And it was, oh my gosh, it was still and yet sunny and crisp all at the same time. It was simply marvelous. The second morning that I want to show you is actually the day after Election Day, and I was doing something in the kitchen, putting dishes away, I think, and there was this pinky orange light coming in from outside. And in my experience, that happens at sunset occasionally, but it very rarely happens at dawn. And I looked outside, and the sky was this brilliant shade of pink, like a pinky orange, and everything was pinky orange. You can see it's pinky orange reflecting off the car. And so I just went outside on the back patio and watched the light change the colors in the sky from this deep pink to this deep orange to more of a natural dawn pinky orange color. And I love deep colors like this. I call them colors that are so vibrant that they almost hurt the human experience. And so what a wonderful, beautiful, peaceful morning. I have also, switching away from dawn shots, been exploring the local cemetery. Now, that may sound weird, but I have loved cemeteries since I was a child in middle school, and we had a cemetery at a country church up the road from our house, and I used to take the dog there so that the dog could run around on their afternoon walk. And I have always loved cemeteries. I seek them out when I go overseas. I love reading the headstones. I love imagining who the people might have been, both in their own lives and how they might be related to the stones around them. I like looking at the decorations on the older stones. And so the Seneca Union Cemetery is just maybe a quarter mile up the road. I did not feel it was appropriate to share with you any of the pictures that I took of the gravestones that I found to be of interest, because those are somebody's family members and legacy, and who am I to share them? But I did want to show you the war memorial, because I thought it was odd to find one in a cemetery. I very rarely find war memorials in cemeteries. Usually you find them in communities, in some sort of central location that there's a lot of, high visibility and foot traffic. But this particular cemetery has a war memorial, and the plaque said that the cannons were given as gifts quite a while ago, actually, and they're on one of the ridges about halfway up the cemetery. So I thought that was really interesting. The other thing I wanted to find in the cemetery, and the reason that kind of pushed me over to finally go explore it, the gentleman from whom I got the chair mentioned that his wife, who passed away from cancer a couple of years ago, is buried near Danyo. Danyo was the other half of the ownership of the restaurant that's next to our house, and we knew he'd passed away somewhat unexpectedly and somewhat recently, but we hadn't really wanted to dig for the whole story. And so I thought, well, it's a great place to go explore on a Saturday morning. So I did find Danyo's headstone. I do wish we had met him in real life. Everything we've heard about him sounds like he was an amazing guy, outgoing and gregarious and really fun to be around. Unfortunately, his headstone is more modern than I prefer in my taste, but it was weird. I mean, it's weird to go to a gravestone of a person you've heard a lot about but don't really have any other context for. I don't even think I've seen a picture of him. So anyway, that was the cemetery experience. I will probably go up there again. It was a really cold morning when I was up there. I did not have the appropriate apparel on, which honestly that morning is what probably prompted me to go and get this. I was unable to find my sweatshirt box when we went digging around in the storage unit a couple of years ago, and I thought, I cannot keep going on with like a light sweater. I need something substantial. So there's that. The last thing that I've been doing outside of the home renovations is I had my first experience with the freeze-dried food that we rescued from our neighbors. So I will leave you with that footage. All right, we're about to go on a grand adventure. This is one of the freeze-dried meals that we acquired from our neighbors who are moving. And the freshest if used by date is 2016. But I did some research. First of all, every company is allowed to make up its own best if used by date. And second of all, as I already knew, most freeze-dried food is good for 20 to 30 years depending on how it was packaged. Now, there is no date that I can find on the packaging that says when it was manufactured. However, I find it hard to believe that it was more than 20 years ago, given the age of our neighbors. So I'm going to follow the instructions on the back. Basically, you rip open the package, take out the oxygen absorber, add water, stir, and see. And if it smells bad or tastes bad, I won't eat it. But we are awaiting a grocery delivery order this morning, and I am hungry, and I'm curious to see how this goes. I've never actually had a freeze-dried meal before. I have had a ready-to-eat meal that my chemistry teacher brought in high school and showed us, but since I don't backpack and hike, I have never done the freeze-dried meal thing before. So this is my very first freeze-dried experience, and we will see how it goes. It smells very sweet, like almost like candy. Moment of truth. Here's the granola. Tastes like generic, slightly too sugary, but still acceptable granola. Okay then, breakfast it is. So that's it for today's video. Thank you as always for following along. I really love sharing this journey with you all, and I look forward to sharing the next update with you, which should be painting. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.